But wide receiver is where you have kind of a lot of old heads, right? But also mostly young guys.
Yes.
Plenty of talent. No one questions that they've, got some juice or whatever you want to say. But the consistency, the experience are significantly lacking. Now, obviously, the Patriots do need to go find some kind of number one receiver, whether it's through free agency, which is not looking likely anymore, really wasn't likely to begin with, whether it's via trade or whether it's through the draft. Do you think that there is a future starter in the Patriots wide receiver room? Now, I think Pop, I know you have him as a starter. I also think he is a quality starter from the slot. Yeah, you don't want him on the field as a run blocker or anything, but you can still find ways to use him on first and second down if you want to. Mm-hmm. But then it gets kind of murky, right? Kendrick Bourne with Josh McDaniels, maybe that's in 2 years off the ACL now. Maybe that's the boost he needs to reclaim his spot. And you got some Z slot types on the roster, but there's no one at X, and you don't really know who it is behind Kendrick Bourne, where if God forbid something happened to him, all right, who's the young guy that's going to step up? So is there a potential future starter in this receiving core? Because I know we were high on the rookies last season, but due to circumstance or what have you, just didn't work out for him.
Yeah. One thing on Pop in the slot is if you do RPO stuff and you do bubbles with him, then you're going to pull that apex defender anyway out of the box. So that's your answer for him.
And that's what Van Pelt did towards the end, like when Pop was like, I am not on the field and I don't know why, just much more RPO. Exactly.
Right. Yeah. I mean, even if it's just a fake, right? Like, even if it's not actually, you're ever asking Drake to ever read that, and it's just do it, just hand the ball off. Like, just doing that just pulls that apex defender out of the box. So then you have advantageous numbers with Pop on the field. So yes, as you mentioned, Bourne was 11 months removed from the torn ACL last year. Mm-hmm. So he is now over 18 months, which that is the time frame it usually takes to regain athleticism.
Right.
People think that when they get back on the field, they should be about the same. But the truth is that it takes about 16 to 18 months, depending on the person, to regain all of their lateral agility and their explosiveness that they had pre-ACL, which is actually a longer time frame than the Achilles. But it takes longer to get back on the field with the Achilles. Just an interesting little sports science-y note there.
And also appreciate when athletes come back from one season on a torn ACL and are better. Because that shit's insane.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Breece Hall was kind of like that. Obviously, he plays on turf, but his foot speed was about the same, if not a little bit better this year. So
funny enough, actually, Harold Landry, according to Next Gen, since he tore his ACL, got under 0.8 seconds and has gotten better every single year. I don't know how that's possible. Eye test doesn't really tell you that, but that's just what the advanced metrics say, and it's objective truth. I don't know. Just
I mean, it's possible that you have to spend more time working on your lower body when you have an injury like that, so you come back stronger. You see that a lot in like professional wrestling, that guys aren't in the best shape. They suffer a significant injury and they come back in the best shape of their life, but they actually are because they don't have time to do anything else. It's only working out and getting back on the field. So there is some potential truth to that an injury can spark some of that in people depending on their role and position. But
that's why I bring you on, man. Those kind of nuggets.
For Kendrick Bourne, I think he is the starting X, in my opinion. Well, there's a very specific reason. I think he's good getting off of press. Mm-hmm. And I don't think he's good against off at this point.
Because he doesn't threaten vertically enough.
Correct. So he's good at creating space and at the cut when he's attached to somebody, especially underneath. But if they're able to play off and play conservatively, he doesn't have enough explosivity in any direction to threaten them and widen. So he gets swallowed up in man coverage from off. So if you want someone right on that line, I think he fits that bill. But for me, I think Jaylen Polk could start this year. So the results were horrendous last year, right? Like just flat out horrendous. He knows it. Everyone knows it. The film before the catch point tells a very different story.
Let him know. Let him know.
When he faced press coverage, he beat basically all types of competition off the line of scrimmage, whether it was vertically, whether it was horizontally. He was so good relative to what I expected because, everyone said he's a possession receiver. He can't create space. He doesn't get open. He was getting open consistently, and he was able to widen the stem with that guy in his face because he was just playing ball at that point. When he faced off coverage, he struggled to maintain positive pre-snap leverage because he didn't sell it enough. So for him, he was able to do that. And obviously, if there was a guy who was off, if he's playing Z and he gets contacted, he was getting slowed down consistently. He wasn't prepared for that because I think he was just kind of getting into his route, trying to get into his rhythm. But he worked well on the vertical plane. He worked well on horizontal breaks at the cut when he had somebody, in phase with him. He sold his routes well. I was blown away by how nuanced his game was in some of those route running areas. And if the hands and the ball skills come back from that confidence, which we know was a huge strength of his in college, I mean, it was the selling point. it was literally, he is a great hands catcher. So if he gets that back, that's someone who I could see being a legitimate X receiver on the outside. You're not going to threaten with 4.3 speed, but you can beat press coverage off the line of scrimmage and get open. He was doing that early, right? If you remember the play against San Francisco, he created space and he can stack a defensive back. I think that was Charvarius Ward that he stacked. And Charvarius Ward runs a 4.38, 4.4. And he was able to beat him off the line and stack him and create space in a way that you don't usually see from rookies. You didn't see it from anybody else on roster that could consistently do that. So for me, I think I'm optimistic that he could take a huge jump if the confidence comes back. There are a lot of examples of guys without excellent athleticism who have been very good players because of their route running.
Devontae Adams.
Devontae Adams is one of them. Obviously, I'm not suggesting that he's going to be Devontae, but if people remember, people were trying to run him out of Green Bay his first 2 years. He had the dropsies, and he was a second-round pick out of Fresno State, basically in the same general area as Jaylen Polk, with the same general build, same height, same general weight. And he became one of the best route runners in football through nuance and just feel for the game. And then obviously his hands at the catch point are phenomenal. So, that there is a path forward for Polk. When he got drafted, I thought he was going to be a wide receiver 3, the third best target, maybe a Z, maybe a little bit of X, but didn't see a ton of him facing press in college because you don't. And then this year I'm like, okay, he could be a high end 2, maybe even a low end 1 if things go right. So despite the fact that the results were horrendous, they came in an area that was the opposite of what his strength was. So the arrow for me is pointing straight up if he can just get some strong coaching and get his confidence back. If the confidence doesn't come back, he's done. That's just what it is in football. If you don't have confidence playing football, you're going to fail. That just is what it is. There's a reason that DBs act the way they do. You have to have ultimate confidence, otherwise you can't play football. So
same thing with quarterbacks. Like, as much as we all love Tom Brady, you think like Tom Brady is humble off the field for sure, but then he flips the switch and you're like, oh, that's like the real Tom Brady. He's an arrogant SOB, and you have to be because you are going up against the best people at the world in what they do every single week.
Yeah, you need absolute conviction in everything that you do on the field. So yeah, that's my feel. And then outside of Polk, I don't see a starter in the rest of the group. Javon Baker's athleticism didn't translate for me. I thought he played like a 4.54 guy. Even vertically, there was no separation. And I went back to his UCF film. And I was like, why didn't I notice that he didn't create any separation against these guys before? He might have beaten them at the line of scrimmage, but they gained ground so quickly. It's the Sky Moore phenomena, right? He was so good off the line of scrimmage at Western Michigan, and then guys just caught him. And that was MAC level players. So if guys that UCF was playing were catching up to him, that should have been a pretty big red flag. The route running is not there. Great hands catcher, but I just don't think that the processing or the route running nuance is anywhere close. So I think it's a pretty uphill battle for him.
Felt the same way with Jaheim Bell in a lot of ways. Unfortunately, those are guys I was really excited about, and I loved the Flyers. Like I like Javon's tape enough that if there wasn't concerns off the field, I would have considered him in third roundish, maybe even second. Like if teams really loved him, but after seeing what we've seen, it's kind of hard to go back on it. You're rooting for them, obviously, but the tape is the tape. Now with Polk, he is very frustrating because, like you mentioned, there's so many reasons that he should do better because his weakness last year was previously a strength. And then it's, oh, he was historically bad. Well, so was his situation, right? He literally was surrounded by incompetent coaching, not his fault. Then got to the point where he kind of just was mentally fried, as you expect from young players. Then it was made worse by his own coach, who called him out and said he was having, mental issues, that he's like, I'm not. It was a whole thing, right? So I think that if this is a coaching staff that nurtures him, gives him that confidence, I completely agree. You saw the flashes before he started to get into his own head, especially that San Francisco game. So hopefully he can figure it out. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to become a member of Patriots Press Pass on YouTube to get full access to videos like this and much more really fun content. I cannot wait for you to see it.